Amen.
Thank you, Greg. The first item is off-system safety program. Jeff, I'm gonna turn that over to you.
Okay, that's fine. At our last meeting, we had discussed the need for the restriking and signing of a significant number of our roads where the signing and pavement markings were basically obliterated. And I had mentioned that Mr. McDuffie and Mr. Gregory with KCI Technologies as a consultant were assisting cities and counties and obtaining part of the safety grant that's available through the federal and state governments. And I asked them to come and basically just give us a brief presentation of the service they offer, because as you're aware, we had previously allocated money in our SPLOST, and we had talked about, because of the significant need, that we might not be able to wait, and we didn't know the outcome of the SPLOST litigation, that we were going to discuss it in this budget cycle due to, number one, we have a moral obligation and a legal obligation. So in my conversations with Larry and Todd, they made me aware that there has been a limited amount of funding that has been reallocated, and part of the services they offer are assisting with grant preparation for the same. So at this time, Larry, Todd, I'll just ask you to, if you want to take it forward. Anyone, whatever.
Well, this is very informal. We just want to give you a little bit of background about what this program is. And Jeff has covered a good bit of it. First of all, thank y'all for letting us come. And also, thanks for having prayer. I like to see that. But we appreciate y'all letting us come. And this is Larry Gregory. I'm Todd McDuffie, and we work with KCI. And back in the late 90s, early 2000, the federal government decided there needed to be some action taken toward all fatalities on our roadways. And they developed a safety action plan which covered striping, RPMs, guardrail, delineation, things of that nature. Well, each state sort of adopted that, and in the mid-2000s, Georgia adopted a Georgia Safety Action Plan. And that was included in that was everything I mentioned: guardrail, striping, RPMs, and all that. Well, out of that has come an off-system safety program, which that program doesn't really look at guardrails so much because there's a lot of environmental issues there, but we do look at center lines, edge lines, center line rumble strips, signage, Larry, if I'm leaving some out, RPMs, things of that nature to make the road safer. And the reason they've done this, and they've gone to the off system, about 35% of your fatalities were occurring on off system roads. And about 50% of that was off-road accidents or hitting fixed objects. So that's sort of what brought this program on, and the reason that the Georgia DOT has implemented this program. The program itself, there's about $1 million per district that is allotted to the district to do these kind of projects. Now, every district does not use their money. So if that money is not used, it can be brought to different districts. And as the ex-district engineer in this district, to me, that money wasn't used. And that's a way we can help. And I think it's prudent that we do that, and as public officials, you ought to be able to grab that money and make your road safer for your citizens. And granted, we're KCI, if y'all hire us to do this project, we've got to get paid, and that's part of it. And as Clint said in his prayer, it's hard times. But to me, this is a safety issue, and it's something that can save lives. And there's money there to pull from. And not only can it be pulled from the off-system safety program, there's also a program called the High Risk Rural Routes Program, which in some sense is a little bit more beefed up. You can look at operational improvements. You may have a slope that needs to be filled out or something. You can use that money, but now it all has to be based on crash data. And if we came in and done a off-system safety project, we would inventory the road, And it all depends on what the scope of y'all want us to do. It could just be striping, signs marking the striping, additional signs, sight distance, you know, we can make it whatever. But that's, I guess, something we discuss if y'all decide to do that. You know, we can cater to whatever needs y'all may need as far as the scope of what your work needs to be. But the main objective of this off-system safety is striping, RPMs, and signage. And it can't be just a maintenance program. You know, we can't just do the program to upgrade your sign. Just, you know, you got to base everything on crash data. But if we're out there on the road and we're actually doing an inventory, if the sign's faded, hey, that's a safety issue. We're going to replace it. And in Franklin County, I think y'all had a project back in 2007, which covered about 54 miles. And I think total y'all got about 250 paved roads, somewhere in that range. County roads, not counting city streets. So you've done about 21% of your roadway in that last project, which is about $100,000 on somewhere around there.
About 55,000.
Okay, somewhere in that range. Typically, if you hire us to do this, you know, you're looking at about a 10% match. You know, if we get you $200,000, we'll do an estimate, and $200,000 project, $150,000, about 10% of it goes to the engineering part of it. Now, that would be on the county, but as far as any match to that money, there's no match. County, when you get the project, you get $100,000. Now, inspection of that, if you hire somebody, then, you know, you'll pay a little bit out of that $100,000 to do the inspection, which is not a whole lot. I mean, you know, it's not that big. About 3% would be toward the inspection. Larry, anything I'm missing here?
And that fee is, that's sort of the industry standard, is around 10% of the total contract price. A lot of that has been negotiated out once you see the scope of work and what you actually want, how many roads, what kind of priorities you have, and then you can sit down and really get down some real numbers. But that's, like I said, 10% sort of the standard in the industry if people want to do that kind of work.
And y'all need to make sure that, this is just a sidebar, that y'all fill out the, and I think Billy has done this, the centerline mileage data submission form.
Right.
Make sure y'all get all y'all's, and I'm probably speaking to ex-DOT here, with the TIA, if it passes, with LMIG money, you need to make sure you get all your roads logged. That's real important.
We feel pretty good about those center line miles with what we've done. We're pretty accurate on that.
But I don't know anything else we can tell you. It's just, it's a safety program, and we're here to help, to try to get it. Money brought to Franklin County, just like we're trying to get it to every other county and city in our area, 21 counties in North Georgia. So, if y'all got any questions, I don't know if I've covered everything that you need to know, but anybody got any questions?
What's RPM?
That's a raised pavement marker that goes on the center line, that little thing that's a bump when you go across, or we knock off when the snow and ice comes.
The one thing that we probably need to mention is the last submittal, GDOT had a full-time consultant on board that actually took our submittal and then came out and did the same work that you're talking about. And since that time, due to budget cutbacks, they have basically had to eliminate or minimize the hours worked by that individual and/or.
And they have an individual now that does that, but I can tell you, he can only work 1,040 hours a year.
And we've already checked, and in this year, he's already told us and confirmed that he would not be able to come out, even us being so close with our package ready for submission, he's not gonna be able to work it in this year.
Probably a year, 2 years out.
Yeah, and I would say timing is of the essence. There's a limited amount of money available, and they're already queuing up for it. And and I know in-house we just could not get it done probably fast enough to, you know, with the limited time we have to do to get it in time to get funded. That'd be my fear.
And I'll just tell you that I can about 99.9% tell you that if we get a package ready, you know, we can try to get it in this physical year, but if it's ready, beginning July 1st starts the next physical year, it's going to be top of the list. And I haven't seen, you know, we work good with traffic ops, Brent Cook, who's the traffic engineer, and if packages are ready to go, they push them through. So, you know, it's, like we said, it's of the essence to get these things done, so we do get part of that money.
Y'all feel comfortable moving forward with it?
I think we need to have discussion. I mean,
Yeah.
just personally, I mean, we, just to be honest, we need to look at our options to see if it's something we could do in-house, or, you know, look at others. We need to weigh all of our options and be upfront and honest with, you know, our consultants.
And if y'all decide you need to do it in-house, and you need assistance, you know, we can work out something with that. We can come and help y'all out.
We certainly appreciate it.
One thing about KCI is they're all over in 13 states, DC and everywhere. The Georgia office, the biggest majority of the employees in Georgia are from North Georgia. Todd and myself are both retired from DOT, we both live in adjoining counties, have all our lives, so we're local folks. We're not some big firm coming in from somewhere else, so we can cater to your needs, whatever you need.
And we know the needs, and we know where some money's at, and we're trying to get it. So, although we work with KCI, you gotta pay us.
All right, we certainly appreciate it.
All right, appreciate y'all having us.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
We've got a couple just little information packets to leave out.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate your time,
Thanks,
thank you.
Mark.
All right, next one is the GFO water line funding.
Yes, sir, and at the last meeting, we discussed the GFA funding that the county had received, and we had reduced the scope of the overall project from 2.5 million to 2 million, meaning 1.6 million would be in a loan and 400,000 would be in a grant, and just basically throwing it back out there to see what your thinking is on that, whether we want to proceed with it.
That's what we said we'd do tonight. So, any discussion? What y'all want to do?
I mean, I've looked at it in detail and I'm ready to move forward myself. I guess there might need to be some discussion as far as the monies we have that are currently relegated specifically to water improvements. Do we want to use all of that, which would be my recommendation, or do we want to look at keeping some of that in reserve? But the prime objective in utilizing that funding is the CDs are drawing less than 1% interest. And even with the GFA loan, you're looking at 2+% interest. So when you look at it from an economic standpoint, you know, you're much better off taking the lower interest and, you know, transferring that to the higher interest and mitigating that debt.
One other option that came up while we were sort of working on the budget is, instead of actually using that money as a lump to pay off one of the GFA loans, we'll have 3 GFA loans if we approve this one, is maybe just transferring over enough each year to pay the principal on that. And that certainly helps out the budget quite a bit if you use that money to pay off the debt service in essence of it.
Okay, I realize that, Billy, but you're still accruing interest at a rate of 2+%, and you're drawing less than 1%. So the sheer economics of it tells me to go ahead and retire the debt up front. But I'm going to defer to my colleagues.
Well, do we have to, we don't have to make that determination tonight? Or
As
do-
far as how you're gonna pay it off,
Right.
yeah, no, you would not have to do
Yeah, I
that
think we can
tonight.
talk
Just
about that at a
whether
later
we wanna
date.
move ahead or not with it.
Yeah.
I think I mean, the project itself, the meters, I mean, I think it's something that's vital that needs to be done, and I'm in favor of moving forward with
Yeah,
it.
and I want to make it clear that we do have the money to pay the loan off, correct?
Yes, you have it.
Within 150,000.
Within 150.
That's right.
Okay, and this money can only be used for water. It's not like we're taking anywhere else. I just want to.
Water and sewer. It
Water
can
and
only
sewer.
be used for water and sewer.
And,
That's
and
correct.
so therefore, I'll go ahead and make the motion that we move forward.
I'll second it, and just for discussion and for clarification, this portion of the line is going to provide redundancy to our trunk system,
Yes.
which would significantly minimize the potential for an outage impacting, you know, all or part of our system. It's going to generate much needed fire protection, as well as I think with drought conditions continuing to worsen, I think right now we're in a category between a 1 and a 2. It's gonna provide a much needed service for that area, not to mention the enhanced fire protection, which is gonna benefit all those area residences with their ISO ratings on insurance, which should result in an immediate impact to their insurance premium rates.
Absolutely.
Not to mention, with a line that size at 320 and 85, it will significantly enhance the potential for commercial development.
Bring that trunk right down into the heart of the county.
Absolutely.
Right exactly where we
And the
need.
balance of the money, as y'all know, we talk about a meter replacement program,
Right.
and also additional water lines would still be going in the ground. We're utilizing these funds.
I mean, it is a win-win situation for the county.
Got a motion and a second, all in favor then? All right. Thank you for that. I'd like to recognize Cheryl Slater with the library board. I was going to see if you want to say something.
Thank you, if I could, and thank you for giving me just a moment to stand in front of you. I am representing the Franklin County Library Board tonight. Thank you for all that you all have done as a commission to support our libraries. And we're here to ask for continued funding. I know from what I've read, what I've heard, that monies are really, really tight. The libraries, like anything else, is affected by that. Our budget for our libraries, our operations budget is about between $103,000 and $104,000. The county provides approximately $30,000 of that funding. The school board approximately $24,000. The funding we receive from the school board, you know they're struggling also. That's in jeopardy. We don't know whether we'll receive that or not. We had submitted a request for an increase in funding to the county of approximately $34,000. We would appreciate anything that you can do to continue funding. If there is any way that you all can increase that contribution, especially in light of what's going to be happening with the school board funding, we would greatly appreciate it and all of your support. I just wanted to say that to you folks. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
All right. I guess we'll adjourn our regular meeting then and go right into our work session. And start on the budget. So you want to start looking at the budget. Who wants to start out with that?
Well, I'd like to just, get an overview maybe of the 30,000 foot view of where we are and where Billy thinks we need to, some areas we need to be looking at. And then we'll schedule some follow-up meetings, especially with our constitutional officers and go from there.
Good, good. And I didn't specifically prepare for anything, but I'm just sort of some thoughts on it. Well, the budget, it's not balanced as of yet. The expenses certainly exceed the revenues, and that's where we thought, hey, the constitutional officers and department heads that requested additional monies, they're going to need to justify that to you. Things like health insurance, increasing health insurance costs are also certainly a big factor in the consideration of this. The enterprise funds at the E911 water and sewer and solid waste are in good shape. Of course, they will need transfers in as they typically do. I think those are in pretty good shape. It's just mainly the general fund that I would concentrate in. Revenues, probably the first area that you might want to look at, we could possibly even look at it tonight if you wanted to, are the revenues for the general fund. Certainly property tax revenues, and we'll get your comfort level with the number that we presented, and also on the local option sales tax, the loss tax. Those are two of our biggie revenue sources for the general fund, so we'd like to get your thoughts and input on revenues in general, but certainly those two specifically. So I don't know if that helps in answering sort of where you were asking or not, but and we have included the full recreation budget, so the numbers have actually gone up some, and for overall, because we've added the full recreation budget in this overall budget.
But that will also include revenues, that's the revenue.
That's right, it does,
side.
there's a revenue side to that as well, but that, of course,
talk about, I mean, I know every year we get down to the situation about health insurance.
Right.
Where are we at with
Well,
that?
we're working, we've got another meeting, actually, Thursday. We've had one last week, we've got another one this week with the department heads and constitutional officers. We had a bad claims year.
Yeah.
Rates are
Well,
going up
I knew it was.
for the plan that we have, so we're looking at options and ways to cut costs. So what we'd like is at least through Thursday before we come back to this board with a recommendation from the staff. We'd like to make a recommendation, and we're not quite there yet.
Okay, well, I mean, the reason I bring it up is that's the thing that impacts everybody's
It-
budget. And I
absolutely.
mean, that's the
Absolutely.
bugaboo we gotta deal with.
Right.
What was the percentage of insurance? Was it
Claim.
14% going up?
No, 43%
43%.
increase. So it's huge.
Yeah.
We've had
About
a
one-
terrible claims.
Dollar claim versus dollar premium.
Oh, I've got that, just don't have it here with
Okay,
me.
no, that's fine,
But yeah,
that's
that
fine.
we've, the insurance company has paid more by at least 100,000, what was it, 120,000 more than we've paid in.
Billy, one thing I couldn't extract in looking at that,
Yeah.
what will the 15% employee health insurance increase translate into dollar-wise? And understand that is just a number and will be variable.
Roughly $150,000.
Okay.
You know, if you want to look at round numbers, we're paying about $1 million on health insurance. So 15% is $150,000. It's actually slightly less than that, but for the, for round numbers.
Are we exploring the possibility of options for some employees? I'm not saying that it would work for all, with maybe some coverage that is more or less catastrophic coverage with lower deductibles, to give, I've heard, there's a lot of concern about the premiums, and much is the same with every one of us that are here with however we have our insurance, the costs continue to rise. And I've just heard that there's people that are at the threshold of not being able to afford it, but yet they would still like to have some level of coverage to ensure that, they're just not decimated by some type of a major catastrophic health issue.
Where we are today, and this is, again, we're not ready to make a recommendation, but where we are today is we're close to the thought of having a base plan that the county would pay for, have a buy-up plan for anybody that wanted to actually pay some additional monies and have a better plan, and also what I would call a high deductible with a health savings account attached to it. And so that would address exactly what you're talking about there. We're just not quite, we have not gelled yet on what plans will fit those three
I mean,
categories.
we might have to reach far and wide, there's something out there,
Yes, sir.
because if you remember last year, we had our backs against the wall with the certain plans that were presented to us, that being best case scenario.
Right.
And we looked at some other options and really helped ourselves for that fiscal year.
Yes,
So we might need to do, just a broad-based search and bring somebody else in.
right. And what the budget that you're looking at, though it's not balanced, it does include 15% for health insurance. That those monies are included in here. And you'll find those under contingencies down at the bottom of the general fund expenses.
I have several questions, but I'm gonna let
No, go ahead. I'm just looking.
Clint, do you have anything? Okay, and looking back over the budget numbers, I know with our adoption of our last year budget, we adopted that based on the best knowledge we had of the digest at that time, and we had anticipated a 15% reduction in the digest, which actually translated to about 8.5, 8.6%. And looking at our numbers, should that not translate into a larger collection than budgeted?
For the current fiscal
Yes.
year?
Yes.
Yes, and I think you're seeing that
Okay.
in the current budget.
Right,
Right.
can you show me?
Yeah. See, we budgeted, in the current budget, we budgeted $4,127,000, and so far as of now, this is the March report, we had collected $4,276,000, so that's about $150,000 more in collections this fiscal year than we budgeted.
Correct. With anticipated 25% more remaining to be collected. Or what month did this go
Yeah,
through?
there would actually be very little. You
Because of
probably-
the timing.
That's right.
Okay, that's right. So we're still $150,000 plus or minus ahead.
About 3.6%.
Okay, which hopefully can carry over and possibly help fill the gap in this budget.
Yes, in other words, you,
If all other things are equal,
well, yeah, but.
and I understand that.
They're not.
Yes,
Yes, sir. That could add to your fund balance, but unfortunately, there's some other things that have not come in like we would have hoped they would. So,
Okay, also the probate court,
yes, sir.
we are looking at okay. There's a minimal difference, I think, what, $6,000 or $7,000 going from, well, 227 is what's budgeted for this year, down from 236.
Let's see, now I'm lost.
Okay, Jeff, maybe, you may have an old sheet on that, well,
Yeah, this is what I got out of my box while ago.
Should another
yeah,
sheet.
what are you looking at?
You should have
Show me
another
what
sheet.
you're looking at.
Yeah, yeah.
No, actually,
Oh,
that's the latest one, right there.
Yeah, that's the latest.
Yeah,
Now, I'm easily confused, I can't have more than,
Yeah, sorry about that.
okay.
These numbers are dynamic.
You're looking at 236 to 198 now.
okay,
Yeah.
well, the question I had was, I knew there was gonna be more of a differential with the current salary, with the, whoever is elected would go back to the entry-level salary, and I ended up with $40-something thousand.
That's right,
Okay,
so that's 198,000, takes care of that.
Yes, we put that in. Took that out.
okay, another area that I was looking at, Billy, were our revenues based on receipt of traffic fines. Okay, it looks like that this past year, there was a significant reduction, but going back and looking at prior years, they were more level, and I don't want to use the term stable as a revenue stream, because, I mean, the fines are determined by unlawful conduct and nothing else.
Absolutely.
But I think that we could be safe in projecting maybe a 3 or 4 year view and a snapshot of our fines in generating revenues. Rather than just saying, okay, there's 1 year, and I think you're going to see an increase, and I would feel comfortable in doing that, but I would defer to others to ask what your opinion of that is, and more so, the sheriff.
Well, actually, isn't probate revenues down significantly over the last few months?
Well, over the last year, they've been down
Yeah.
compared to the great year that we had a year ago.
Right.
Right, so they are down.
They're down from the year before that too.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying that I don't know the reason, but it looks like that in past years, that was a greater revenue stream. And I don't know if we just use 1 year or we factor 3 or 4 years in to try to get a realistic revenue stream for our budget. I don't want to over budget and I don't want to under budget. I want to be realistic.
I heard on the radio about
Well, I mean,
the state fines was even down because there's not that many people on the road anymore.
well, last year, didn't we go in projections of probate judge and his estimations and when we talked, and even the sheriff department,
Yeah, I think
we
we
got input,
combined.
we got input on both of them, and that's how we got our numbers
We have to do that again, I think.
this year, yeah.
Is this number correct, Billy? 1.652 million?
Let's see, which one are you looking at, where are you looking at?
I'm looking on the revenue sheet for fiscal year 12.
For probate?
Well, I'm just
I'm
looking
sorry.
at the overall fines, of which that would be.
Well, that's
fines
everything.
for- Right, that's what I'm saying, I'm wanting to look at,
That's what we've budgeted, but now what has come in is only 772,000 so far.
okay,
After, 9 months.
okay.
So we're 46%, 47% of budget at the 75% mark.
Okay, why does this show, is the 79%, what is that?
Can I see what you're looking at? I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
I projected out for the full year.
Okay.
That's what that is.
Okay.
Yeah. You're looking at the tentative budget that I did, about a month or so
Okay,
ago?
well, I would be in concurrence that we talk with them and further assess our numbers.
What you wanna look at next?
Well, I know last year we went through our proposed budget line item by line item and were able to extract several different things where there were maybe, I don't want to use the term typos, but issues with monies being allocated but never being expended. Billy, have you gone through and put your eye on those?
Well, yes, in more of a general way, I have not cut places that I guess I would have felt like comfortable maybe cutting some things, because I wanted y'all to see what the department heads and constitutional officers presented. But yes, I think there are some areas that we certainly have some opportunity to work with. But I have not done that yet.
That's one thing that I would like for you to do, if you can work that into your schedule prior to our next
Okay.
meeting.
I want to say something too. I think they've mentioned it to Billy, but on the firefighting category, they're wanting to add this training center over here as like another fire department.
Yes, David Phillips would like the opportunity to come and talk to you all about funding at the Fire Training Center.
And this amount on this sheet does not reflect that, because it's about $31,000. So I did not add that in to the firefighting department. But that's what they want to do, is add that as another fire department.
And how much are they wanting to add?
It's the same as the regular, another fire department, and I think
See.
that's something like $31,000 a year.
$31,500, that's what we contribute to each of the rural fire departments, and they want that same amount applied to the training center.
How is other training centers,
Yeah, I'm sure it's across the board. I have not checked on that to see how other training centers are funded.
I'd just like to hear what David
Yeah,
would
David,
have to say.
he wants the opportunity to come and meet with y'all.
And more or less looking at it in a general sense, I don't know, I think I'd like to, delve into it a little deeper and go ahead and set up our meetings and go ahead and have our constitutional officers and department heads scheduled to.
You'll just tell us who you'd like
Well,
next, we'll make it happen,
Charles, you don't want to have one more meeting where we let Billy go through, now that we have all of our budgets, maybe we can go through and then find out which
I'd be
ones
fine with another
that
meeting
we
we schedule.
want to
Yeah.
have come in.
Yeah, because there's some we
Yeah,
may not need to.
And I mean, I'm just throwing that out there as a
Oh,
suggestion.
yeah, absolutely. I think one more meeting would be fine, and then we can set a slate of those we want to talk to, or that want to talk to us.
Would y'all want that meeting?
Clint, Angela, what do y'all? Okay, what do we want to accomplish by our next meeting?
Well,
I'd like to see Billy, talk to all of them first, all constitutional
That- I mean,
officers,
that's-
department heads, and then him bring back to us at that time, and let us look that over, and then us go line by line, and then if we have a problem, then the next meeting call the department head or the constitutional officers in.
Yeah, and I agree, that's
well,
pretty much what.
I would like to see Billy propose to us a balanced budget. I mean, straight and simple.
Hell, I mean, I'm 100% in concurrence with that. Going in to this budget, that is my goal.
Okay. We can have that ready.
What date y'all gonna have him? The meeting?
Well, when can Billy have that done? Was it,
Look like his month's pretty well filled in.
It's a busy time for everybody, I'm sure, you
Yes.
know. I mean, what you're thinking, I mean, I'll have it done. We're talking next week, and I certainly can have it done by next week.
That would be preferable, because I'll be leaving tomorrow. Won't be back till, hope and pray, I'll be back in time for my daughter's graduation. If not, I'm moving.
he won't be.
Next Tuesday?
Well, I've got a conflict.
Okay.
Keep in mind, I've got a daughter graduating, and there's lots of events we're going to, you know. We do have a conflict next Tuesday.
By next Thursday.
Next Thursday, the 31st.
No, that's the 24th.
Oh, actually, I'm sorry, I am looking at the wrong one. I can meet next Thursday, excuse me. 22nd,
Tuesday.
yeah, sorry, I was looking. I can meet the Tuesday, the 22nd. That actually would probably work good. If y'all are good with that.
Yeah, that should be fine with me.
Okay.
6 o'clock once again,
Yes.
if that suits.
Still gonna be here with all the information there.
Doesn't matter now.
I mean, I think it'd just be easier if we've got, you know, like we've run into in times past, when we've got a question, we're out here.
Well, I mean, I'll ask those in attendance, any issue with meeting here again? Pose a undue hardship on anybody? I don't know.
I will have it here then. Okay.
Billy, sharpen the pencil.
All right, we'll do it. We'll make it balanced.
I'm really hoping we can get something done in that insurance, because I mean, it's one of those things you just personally have so little control over. My insurance went up 15%, and my deductible increased, and the premium increased. So I'm like, you know, where's this going?
I know, yeah, that's the real question, you know, where's the light at the end of this health insurance tunnel?
Obamacare.
Oh,
And
my.
I say that wholly nose.
You know, I want, you know, like, there's some kind of an insurance company that's based on a religious, and all the members that's member of a church, the church, and you have to have a letter from your pastor saying that you are a member of a church and blah, blah, blah. And then everybody pays the same amount across, and then,
It's a self-insurance pool.
yeah, and you think maybe state of Georgia might
Well,
want to do something like
and-
that
and
with the
Billy,
counties as a commissioner or something,
sure
you know,
that-
across the state.
The wheel's already been invented, but is there an opportunity out there because of the increased insurance rates? And I mean, you're paying administration and overhead, and a lot of times you're paying for like a Blue Cross or Blue Shield to have oversight of the plan. Is there a possibility of maybe Franklin and Stevens or adjacent counties becoming self-insured? I mean, I'm just asking, I don't know.
And what about, you know, across the state? I
Well,
mean,
you
as
can
a
actually
across-
do you can actually be part self-insured and part with a company. You know, use the company over X amount of dollars, be self-insured,
That's right.
and with, anything
Like a
over
hybrid.
that, yeah, anything over that would be listed with another
I
company.
mean, at some point, we don't have a choice. We've got to
We're
look.
talking about those options already.
But there again, you can get in trouble with that because you don't know your claim. I guess you would have to go worst case scenario without getting in trouble in the budget.
And I know I've already spoke to you about, you know, self-maintenance or, you know, everyone, preventive maintenance
Yeah, I think-
programs. and having it in the county, that would be maybe something that could give us a deduction as well on
Exactly.
insurance if we had something like that. And I've had, several employees have come up to me and talked to me about that.
I don't think we have any choice, but we're gonna have to get into a wellness programs and all those kind of things that
The insurance man that came to talk to us last week said that actually the wellness programs do not offer a reduction in the premium, except for the fact that if you get involved in one, you're staying healthier, you're not using your
Keeps your loss
insurance as
rate
much,
down.
so maybe years to come, your insurance won't go up as much as it would have if you had all these claims because you're sick.
Are there penalties associated with the plans we're looking at as far as smoking, drinking?
have not built anything like that in there yet.
Okay.
But that is something we've already talked about, yes.
All right, anything else? Hear nothing? Hear a motion to adjourn?
Make that motion.
I'll second.